We have got some studly running backs at the top of the table this week in NFL DFS in elite matchups. And the question is, can we get to those guys? Because we know we want to, but realistically, is that possible? We're going to break down today why we want to prioritize those high salary backs, what we can do to potentially get there, and our top plays at each position on FanDuel. Welcome on into the Heat Check, a FanDuel Research podcast. My name is JimSannes. I am a managing editor for FanDuel Research, joined here as I am every Thursday by Brandon Gdula. Check him out on X at Gdula13. He is on Blue Sky at Gdula. Check out his work at FanDuel Research, where he is a senior managing editor. Brandon, pretty fun slate. We have got awesome backs at the top of the salary table. How you doing today?
I'm good. Yeah, it's a bit different than last week when I felt like we spent an hour and 45 minutes out of the 2 hours talking about Jonathan Taylor and Josh Jacobs. And now we've got more names. It worked out for JT. Josh Jacobs, of course, was sick and hurt and still kind of came through a bit based on that, but I didn't play him as much as I thought I would. But yeah, I think it's a bit of a heat check classic this week. We've got a couple running backs with standout workloads. We got to figure out how to get there, figure out where we're okay making concessions. And I think it's going to take a lot of the 2 hours to figure out which value plays we feel good with, because it's really easy, I think, this week to fall into a really balanced approach. But I don't know if that's the right way to go about it.
I definitely don't think it is. And that's why I'm hoping we get a player who decides to take a vacation this week. I could use some value somewhere. So if you want to go to Cancun for a little layoff, now's not a bad time. We're going to break down which studs we want to prioritize, whether we can actually find value at quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, and then dig into those backs and get you set for the Week 8 NFL DFS main slate. But first, a reminder to make sure you are subscribed to the FanDuel Research podcast feed and the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page. The FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page is the home of our Covering the Spread podcast as well. I had some guy named Brandon Gdula on with me earlier on today to break down his thoughts on the NFL Week 8 betting slate, broke down 3 big games, and got Brandon's favorite bets for this week at FanDuel Sportsbook. Had Kent Padgett on yesterday talking college football. Tomorrow, Liv Moods joins me to break down NFL Week 8 player props, all on the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page. Subscribe there, leave us a thumbs up, and turn on notifications. And of course, these DFS shows go on the FanDuel Research podcast feed, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it. You can find us there. Leave us a 5-star rating. We appreciate everyone tuning in as always. FanDuel's getting you ready for kickoff with an offer you won't want to miss. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet $5, and if it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style, FanDuel has you covered. NFL season is finally here. Only question is, are you ready to play? Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in DC, Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/Chat Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Let's kick things off here with the slate overview, Brandon. We kind of discussed this already, but it seems to me like the focus of the slate is how do we get to the high salary backs? Is that kind of where you're settling in here for the slate overview for Week 8?
Well, that would be sort of the baseline. I always joke here, although it's not a joke, that I kind of blow the slate overview in the intro, but honestly, I think for me, that's not the total slate overview. I think that's like the implied part of it.
Sure.
It's the big thing. To me, this is like the point in the season, or maybe it's just this week in particular, The Slate overview for me is more figuring out how to adjust for the information that we have, which sounds really broad, but I mean it in like specific situations. Like we have injuries that may or may not happen, returns that could happen, specifically for Baltimore, for example. And that stuff changes a lot. We've got Houston on a short week without, I'll say 2 really good pass catchers, 1 phenomenal pass catcher, but okay, what do you do with small samples? How do you project that stuff forward? So like, I think to me, what I need to figure out is which data I trust that we've seen. That kind of means sometimes looking at things on a per route basis to extrapolate as opposed to full game information. So that's part of it. But also we're deep enough into the season where our brains have made decisions for us. And sometimes that's not the same as like the underlying information provided to us. There's a running back potentially in New England whose role, if we just looked at his usage and red zone role, like we'd have interest, but we've formed our opinions, that kind of thing. Like it's an example that I think applies elsewhere throughout the league of who's been underperforming their role, who's been overperforming. So to me, when we're looking for value, it's time to dig into who's really underperforming. And hopefully we figure things out. Might not be the case. And then as always for me, I don't want to force value plays that I don't like. I don't want to plug in, 3 names in a lineup, 2 names, even 1 name in a lineup that I'm just like, well, this guy makes it work. And then, you get nothing in return. I did it with Kamani Vidal, I guess, actually, yes, right? Vidal.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it, but I did it. And I want to continue to avoid those decisions.
Well, I'm doing that again tonight in the Thursday night game, given that his rushing and receiving prop was low and his anytime touchdown score odds were values to me. So back on the Vidal train once again.
Yeah, that's different though. But you know what I mean? I think there's a lot of, I don't want to say traps because that implies that things aren't good. Yeah. Potentially. Like I think you can spin positively some of these situations, but
there are a lot of downsides.
There's a lot of downside, and I want to minimize that. Even in like tournament lineups, because when you hit the downside, boy, there's nothing like getting your knees cut out whenever you have a good lineup. But that value player too that you plugged in to make it work, they ain't helping.
I agree with you in that we need to be careful. I will be willing to take risks on values this week in order to get in Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey. I think I need to be okay with that. That does mean that I'm going to just make my core be higher salary guys. And then mix in value plays. So like I had way too much Vidal last week. So this week I will be like jumping around the board a little bit. We're going to try to diversify with those guys, make the core be the studs. I think that's the way I want to navigate it because I do need to take some risk on value this week in order to get in these backs who are getting insane usage and are in objectively drool-worthy spots.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to simplify it too, is it's not like, hey man, you can't play any values because then again, you're back to the balance. It's
right.
Really being decisive and probably capping your roster, like your individual exposure to players who you potentially have a lot of question marks with.
We tried to set that cap with Alec Pierce last week, and I may have violated it. So, Hey, he was good, though, at least. He almost got the bonus. So, hopefully we can get some of that out of somebody else for week number 8. Let's start things off, though, with the injury discussion. And there is a lot to break down for this week, beginning with the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson, still not fully healthy. Coming out of the Ravens bye, he was limited in practice Wednesday, apparently working behind Cooper Rush and Snoop Huntley. Betting markets have not reacted to this yet. So, I'm still assuming he plays, but worth monitoring. The Bears also dealing with a bunch of injuries entering the match with the Ravens. DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift, and Cole Kmet didn't practice Wednesday. Moore has a hip injury, which is different from the groin injury he suffered in week number 6. Kmet has a back injury. I think he could sit here. Swift has had his practice reps managed most of this year, so I would bet that he goes. Wouldn't mind if he took a week off to give us Kyle Monangai against the Ravens, but we'll talk about that game in the bookmaker section. The Bucs, shocker, continue to be banged up. Mike Evans going to IR with a broken collarbone. he'll still come back in week 16 and get like 700 or 800 yards to get 1,000 yards. Like, we know this will happen in the final 3 games. Chris Godwin and Bucky Irving already ruled out for this week, which stinks. Emeka Egbuka missed practice Wednesday with a hamstring injury, but seems like he'll play. Great matchup here with the Saints. But at what point do the injuries make you worry about the overall offensive infrastructure with Tampa Bay?
I mean, there's got to be a limit for it, right? Like at some point, it's got to impact things.
We saw the limit last week. That's why Baker Mayfield had like negative 30 EPA.
Well, yeah.
It didn't help that he was overthrowing everybody.
Yeah, not a great one for the film. I don't do a lot of the film, and sometimes it does more harm than good. Stuff sticks in my head, but I mean, it's a tough situation. It's a lot easier this week. Going from Detroit,
yes,
that's a tough place to play, and frankly, they just felt like that was a suffocating situation for the Buccaneers. But I'm still here on a lot of these guys because I think that it still makes sense. It's really easy still, so long as Emeka Egbuka is healthy enough, to get there, but not out on Rachaad White by any means. Tez Johnson impressing me. Didn't rate out very well in my model. Not super high draft capital by any means, but he's been stepping up, and Cade Otton's also relevant. In 2 games without Godwin, Bucky, and mostly Mike Evans, target shares are kind of flat. Abuka's at 22%, but 29% target per route rate, which is the elite cutoff. I mean, he's 20.
He missed half that game. One of those games.
Yeah. So like when you look at it a per route number, like he's elite if he's out there. Like that's the thing that we need to know. But Cade Otton, 25% target per route rate. So would expect him to stay relevant. Tez Johnson, 21%, but kind of seems like he's getting a bit of a rapport with Baker. So that's appealing to me. And then Rachaad in these games without Bucky, 83% of the snaps, not a lot of yardage, but some tough matchups, but a 42% red zone opportunity share, which is really, really nice. I need to laser into my head what I would consider elite cutoffs, but I mean, that's a really strong number there.
40% is good. Like 40% is like where I want it to be. 45% is like, oh, okay. Anything above like 50% is, oh, baby. Like that's my tiers, I would say.
So, I mean, if good's 40%, what do you consider like a 35%? Just everything else is bad?
35% is a little bit concerning. Like that, James Cook is at 34%. I find his red zone rule concerning. Saquon Barkley is 37%. He misses out work to Hurts, stuff like that. Devon Achane is 29%.
29%. I just looked that one up and I was like, oh, buddy, that's not good. So I think Rashaad's got the building blocks for a good game here. Those 3 pass catchers definitely not off the radar. Baker Mayfield's salary is too high to want to get there in abundance at 83, but I'm definitely not out despite all these injuries. What about you?
Yeah, all 4 of those guys are in play. Rachaad White, Emeka Egbuka, Tez Johnson, Cade Otton. There are actually a lot of 5K range tight ends I like this week, so feel pretty good about the prospects of spending down there. But Otton is like one of those guys. He's one of the reasons that range is good. I'll need to find value receivers. Tez Johnson, very much a consideration there. Gets to play indoors again, which is good. Baker, he was bad in that game, but like we've got a long sample on him playing well. So if Johnson's going to play nearly every snap with Baker in this matchup indoors, I like a lot of that. So they're going to be solid plays for me this week. AJ Brown missed practice Wednesday due to a hamstring injury. That had not been reported before, so not sure if it means he's at risk this week, but there's the Giants. They are 7-point favorites this week. How are you viewing the Eagles as things stand?
Yeah, I mean, they've been playing a little bit faster recently based on their adjusted pace numbers that I keep track of. It's still more like league average than anything, but this team, they got some changes with the coordinator. There's definitely a slow start. Everybody knows that. There were some, squeaky wheels that needed a bit greased, and it seems like AJ Brown's still a little squeaky. I don't know if you heard that hot mic in the, after his touchdown or one of his 2 touchdowns, I guess.
I didn't. I've heard a lot of hot mics this year and they've all been great. What was his, if you can say it?
I cannot say it. I also didn't hear it. I didn't hear it the same way.
Okay.
Like I just read the caption. It was real muffled. I was like, I'll trust that the caption is right, but it was just basically like, see what happens when you throw me the ball. and you can
Okay.
go
That's
from there
good.
with it. But
Okay.
so
I'm sure
I
he
mean,
said
if
that
you look,
exact phrasing too.
well, if you look at games with this team with Dallas Goedert, but I'm reducing, like I'm just removing week 1 because like AJ Brown barely got targeted there. Brown is at a 29% target share, 29% target per route rate as well, 2.52 yards per route run. He's been really good. But Devontae Smith, I think, is like it's easy to sell yourself on AJ Brown. We kind of know that, but Devontae Smith's always that like it's so easy just to call him like the T. Higgins of the Eagles of like, yeah, he's good, but he's not the number one. What does it kind of mean? You never really prioritize him, but he's got a 25% target share in this split, 25% target per route rate, but just under 3 yards per route run. He's kind of getting some red zone like money targets too, which is really interesting. So I know that if AJ Brown's good to go, they're not going to want to just not throw him the ball. But Devontae Smith's really impressed me, and his salary didn't jump up as much. So I think that Devontae's got, I'm really interested there. And then Dallas Goedert, 20% target share in these games. 20, it's basically all these guys get like 25 to 30% of the red zone and money targets. So it's still a little bit of like you could double stack Jalen Hurts and still kind of get it wrong. But all three are much, much more likely to be in my lineups than they were earlier in this season. So that's where I am with the pass catchers. I think I'm higher on Hurts than I used to be as well by a pretty good margin. So I think arrow's up, but we are looking at a divisional rematch in a quick turnaround, which don't love that from a game planning standpoint, but I think that this Eagles team can still throw some different stuff out. So I like this team a good bit. Where are you?
I'm going to copy and paste every word that you said about the Eagles and paste it onto me because like that's exactly how I feel. Like Hurts is looking better now because there's more passing volume to go with the rushing. Devontae Smith is pretty undersalaried at 67. Dallas Goedert, I think, is undersalaried at 58 or whatever it is. Another one of those tight ends in that range who stands out. They're looking good. And I have some bringbacks in the Giants I don't hate either. So overall, into the Eagles and hope that AJ Brown is good to go. But if we get Devontae Smith with no AJ Brown, wouldn't be the worst thing.
What about Saquon Barkley?
No, I think he's hurt.
Yeah, something's off, and I don't know. Everything's setting up for like the passing game, where it's like, oh man, Saquon is there, but I mean, what's his max yardage in a game? He doesn't have 100.
I think he has like max of 80 something, right?
I think I have, again, I told you about how many different spreadsheets I had opened up, but
I have like 6.
I probably have
his max yardage is 94.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think I just miss out, and if he burns me, then
I've got dynasty exposure at least. So I guess that'll be my my out.
I'm sure that's what everybody listening wants to hear. Is
exactly what they care about.
Yeah.
Cam Jurgens also didn't practice Wednesday with a knee injury, so keep tabs on that because that would also downgrade Saquon if Jurgens can't go. Brock Purdy seems to be on the wrong side of questionable again this week, which is a bummer. He was limited in practice on Wednesday. Ricky Pearsall also sat again. I took the over in this game, kind of thinking that maybe we get Purdy or Pearsall back, and turns out probably not going to get either. So if we assume that Mac Jones plays, how are you viewing the Niners here against the Texans?
Still up Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
He's second in, so I post expected touchdowns on FanDuel Research, FanDuel.com/research. He's second. He's just a tick below Jonathan Taylor, but there's a 5 touchdown differential between the two in terms of actual production. So better days are ahead for McCaffrey, which is kind of absurd to think about, but his 140 scrimmage yards per game are second in the league behind just Bijan Robinson's. But we were talking about that red zone share. So basically all of the team's carries and targets, he's at 61%, and I don't have anybody else above 49% right now.
He is averaging 73 receiving yards per game, and Saquon is averaging 72 yards from scrimmage per game.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's just pretty phenomenal. I think Jawan Jennings and George Kittle are bounce backs based on the routes that they ran last week. George Kittle joked about not being as involved in the game as he thought he would from the game plan standpoint. That could change, and we know Kittle's got Slate altering upside with run after the catch ability, and just frankly being able to be a red zone target. So I think Kittle is really interesting. I'd be okay with Jawan, but yeah, I hope Purdy gets back soon. But I'm still pretty high. I think it's easy though because it's just these three guys, and you kind of log out. Where are you with Jawan and Kittle specifically?
I agree with what you said there, where both of them are in good spots to bounce back. Salaries have come down for them. They could have tough matchups. I could see Jalen Petrie facing Kittle quite a bit, and Derek Stingley Jr. facing off against Jennings. So like the individual matchups are not great, but like low salaries, indoors, tight spread, that's enough for me. So I do like both those guys as potential value plays, and agree McCaffrey, despite the matchup, still a quality play as well this week. Other side of that game, Texans could be without their top two receivers this week. Both Christian Kirk and Nico Collins sat out practice Wednesday. Collins has a concussion. Kirk has a hamstring injury. We saw some life out of Jalen Noel on Monday, but it came on a limited role. Are you willing to go any of the Texans pass catchers if we have no Kirk and no Collins in this one?
This is honestly one of the things I had in mind in terms of what do we trust? How do we extrapolate? Jalen Noel, 123 air yards last week, 28% target per route rate, 5 downfield targets, which was a third. Downfield targets for me are 10 plus yards downfield. He had a kind of an interesting profile coming out of college, played a lot out of the slot. I comped him to like Khalil Shakir and Rashee Rice, based on like what my model kind of showed as similarities. So what I was interested in was that he was getting downfield work despite playing in the slot, being a little bit undersized. So that's interesting to me. I think that there's a real possibility that has to stick to some degree, because what else are you going to do? And so how much Jalen Noel I just trust might be the biggest like question mark of the week. Is he a cash game consideration? I would like to say no, because there's a lot of uncertainty. However, I do think that there's a lot to like at a salary of just 4,500 with some potential for upside. So I'm really struggling with this one. Hopefully I'm not out over my skis. I think Dalton Schultz will probably also be really popular. But where are you with the pass catchers here?
Yeah, I had Noel 13-1 to score a touchdown on Monday, and they kept getting close to the goal line. Like he got out inside the 5. I had Stroud to score too, and they would refuse to sneak it. So I'm so mad about this team. They're the worst. But like, I think the thing about Noel is the reason I'd bet him to score a touchdown was because Christian Kirk is a slot player, and they were more likely to give Noel a roll boost than they were Higgins, I thought, based on that. And that didn't happen. They let Braxton Berrios run ahead of Noel initially. Now, was that because Kirk was a late week injury? Like, okay, we got to put the veteran out there because we didn't prep Noel to be a starter? Maybe, but then Noel just kept on earning targets. And so do we expect him to play in every 3 receiver set this week? Like maybe not every 3 receiver set, but like he's probably going to run 70-80% of the routes. And like, given how he's proven that he can get open when he's out there, maybe that's enough. So I do want to make sure I put a lid on this, because there's a scenario where they decide to make their 3 receiver set Braxton Berrios, Xavier Hutchinson, and Jaden Higgins. That could happen. I know that like that's not what we would do, but like they could do that. So I want to cap him 25-30%. I want to get to the 25-30%. And I'm going to like those lineups a lot. And I think he has upside to justify this, but I want to make sure I proceed with caution, because they've shown that they want to keep Braxton Berrios out there at times too. And I want to be very, very cognizant of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a now or never situation though, too, for the Texans. True. They're 2-4 despite a plus 39 point differential, which is got to be close to historically significant there. 0-4 in 1-score games, and you get someone who can actually do a couple of things. I don't know how you just go into this like, well, although, I mean, you hear a lot of stuff and balancing out the Lions backfield and getting Travis Hunter more involved, which didn't happen until the second half. Like,
when they were down,
you never know what to trust. So you never know what to trust. I think that I don't have enough I don't remember everything to call him like the best 4,000 range receiver of the year. That probably isn't the case. I think
I think he is so far.
I thought maybe someone was like 49 and we were pretty in.
We talked about Burden a bit, but like that was more like he could get a snap increase versus Noel is very likely to get one.
Yeah, but I mean, like someone was just undersalaried from an early season situation. But this is about
Coleman
as
maybe in week 2 potentially. Anyway, sorry, sidetracking us.
Like I think everyone needs to take a long look at Jalen Noel ahead of this week because I'll be doing it. I'm going to be there. I don't want to say more often than not because that implies he's going to be at over half my rosters. It's just like if I have to make one concession to get a lineup that I really like, I can live with the concept of going to Noel, who's undersalaried for what his role ended up being given the situation.
Yep. And I will use some Higgins too, just because he'll play outside. That could be intriguing too. He has not earned as many targets on a per route basis, which is concerning. At some point that does matter, but I will have sprinkles of him as well. Agreed. The Jets, who knows who will start a quarterback this week? Tyrod Taylor sounded like he was going to start, but now he has a knee injury. Did practice in a limited fashion on Wednesday. Garrett Wilson did not practice. Breece Hall limited. Great matchup for the Jets taking on the Bengals, but are you willing to trust any of them? And does that trust level change, whether it's Tyrod or Justin Fields?
Trust, no, for sure. I mean, Breece Hall could get traded mid-game at this rate, but I think
the baseball version where he's getting hugs and exiting from the bullpen. You know,
I don't watch baseball, so you tell me.
It was very pertinent for your Orioles at the trade deadline this year. They had a lot of dudes getting hugs.
I tried to follow the Orioles, but I just couldn't do it. I don't know how people follow baseball, but anyway, I think I'm higher on Breece this week than I even was last week. He was kind of a if I need to, I guess, last week. This week the matchup is conducive for him. So he's the most likely Jet that I would play. The upside is still relatively capped. He has not scored yet this year, so that should change eventually. That it could change this week. Mason Taylor, if Tyrod plays, I would have more interest. I'm not going to play him with Justin Fields. So, but yeah, this is a dysfunctional team, and I want to make sure that I'm not getting out over my skis on the Jets.
Yeah,
this week it's not worth it.
I agree with you. I think that Breece is a consideration at 74, 94 yards per game this year in games with Braylon Allen out or hurt. And he was good before that too. So that's been intriguing. And the Bengals defense is still not very good. We saw Jalen Warren just torch them, and Warren's a good player, but like Breece is too. So I think that Breece is in play, but like the systemic risk with the Jets of like this offense could just be dog do is high. I would prefer Tyrod to play, kind of like you said. But I think that we have to be cautious either way. I'm not going to use any of the pass catchers regardless with this team.
So one thing quickly, if Tyrod's out, you really don't have the option to bench Justin Fields mid-game. And he's playing a pretty weak.
No, sorry. I didn't know where you're going with that. No. It's just, we talk a lot about how you need upside as like a passer. He's had like less than 100 yards like multiple times this year. No, I can't do
3
that.
times. Yeah.
But oh gosh, that's way worse than I thought it was.
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember which games he finished or not, but he's got 3 on the docket of 17 or fewer pass attempts. But anyway, I think people would ask, and I wanted to kind of get out ahead of it because when he does throw for 200 plus yards, which he's done 3 times, he's had 218 or more in 3 games with at least 1 passing touchdown. He's at 29.5, 27.1, and 25.9 FanDuel points.
Yep. I could be missing out. I'm okay with that. I could be missing out. You're right. Good question, though. The Panthers seem likely to start Andy Dalton this week while Bryce Young deals with a high ankle sprain. They're at home against the Bills. Does Dalton starting alter your view of the Panthers here?
I think potentially it'd be a slight boost in terms of expectations. The Bryce Young stuff did not really carry over. If you look back, it was a little bit potentially inflated with like what he did in the second half of the year. What's more worrisome though is that with Xavier Legette back, market shares are just pretty flat here. even for Teterow and McMillan. He's at 23% of the targets with Leggett. Leggett's at 19%. Andy Dalton did just pepper Xavier Leggett. He had 5 of 7 targets with Dalton last week. I don't know if that is just because they have such a good connection or what. And then, frankly, I didn't watch the tape enough to really pick up on that. So I think it's just, you could give them slight efficiency boosts, but that's not enough if the target shares are like under 25% for me.
I actually give them efficiency downgrades because I think that Dalton is a downgrade from Bryce Young. I know we trash Bryce Young, but like,
I don't trash him.
No, we don't. Like, sorry, I meant we is more like the public. You don't. Yeah. I don't. But like, I think people in general do, and I don't agree with that personally. I think that Dalton's a downgrade. So I think they'll be fine enough to push the Bills and make the Bills like keep scoring, but I'm not going to be super high on Panthers this week personally. Other than that game is the Bills. Josh Palmer didn't practice Wednesday with a knee injury. Dalton Kincaid limited due to the oblique injury that held him out of week 6 before their bye. I do expect him to play. We'll talk about them in the trend section. Colts could have both, or should have both, Josh Downs and Ashton Dulin back this week. Downs limited Wednesday due to a concussion. Dulin full with a chest injury. RIP, our guy, Alec Pierce. We'll talk about the Colts in the bookmaker section. Speaking of which, let's dig in now to the potential games we may want to stack in week number 8, beginning with second highest total on the slate. That is between the Chicago Bears and the Baltimore Ravens. Right now, FanDuel Sportsbook, that total is 49.5. Ravens favored by 6.5. Lamar Jackson still in question for this game in theory, but again, betting markets have remained steady, where this spread is held steady at 6.5. Total has gone down a tick to 50.5 or 49.5, but like that's not that big of a move, and it's still very, very high. So I think the public or the betting market is telling us that we can expect Lamar to play. So Brandon, what's your view of this one? Bears at Ravens.
Yeah, I think that being cautious with Lamar would make sense, but it's, again, I already know I used this term, but it's kind of now or never, and it's much more now or never for Baltimore. I don't think it's outrageous that they make the playoffs, and like that's wild to think about. When I adjusted my player level model for having Lamar Jackson back, this is just like clearly a top 3 offense in the league. So there's a lot to like. Problematically, without Isaiah Likely, it's hard to figure out kind of the target shares here. But long term, we know that when games are competitive and Lamar's playing, he's thrown to Zay Flowers. And Zay Flowers, I don't even know the last time that we would have considered him or even said his name on this show, because we only look at the main slate and just hasn't, So he's a guy you're always slightly higher on than I am, but we're going to want to save any salary we can at receiver. And I'm not saying that 71 is saving salary, but when I hear Lamar's back, like, yeah, he's on the menu for sure, but that it makes Zay Flowers potentially eminently playable. And he can at times get that like 40% target share. And that makes him different than a lot of these guys in the 7K range. So I actually want to start off with Zay and see where you are, because you always have a better read on him than I do.
I don't know if I have a better read. I'm just more willing to deal with his inconsistencies, I think. And I'm willing to deal with them again this week too. Yeah. So kind of like you said, he has the potential for a 40% target share. How many guys in the 7K range can say that? The answer is typically not very many. And we know that he can have big yardage upside when he gets that kind of volume. The Bears secondary is still not fully healthy. They have been bad overall this year. So to me, it's a good matchup for a player with an efficient quarterback. And even if Lamar can't run, he's shown that he can pick a team apart from the pocket. And that's kind of when we get the big Zay Flowers games. So I think Zay at 71 is really fun. I think that Rome Odunze at 73 is also really fun in this matchup here. So I think that Egbuka at 75 is like the guy in the 7K range, but Odunze and Flowers are both guys I feel pretty good about as well. And frankly, I don't want to use any other pass catchers from either of these two teams. So like, it kind of makes it an easy Like kind of like we talked about last week with the Devontae Smith and Jordan Addison game stack, which I definitely did not use, unfortunately. Like it's kind of easy get in, get out mini stack, even if you don't want to trust either quarterback in this game.
Yeah, and Zay had a 47% and 39% target shares the first 2 weeks of the season. I know the volume itself wasn't immense. That's always kind of the risk you run with anyone from this passing offense, but I wouldn't mind. I don't think I'd get there, but Mark Andrews just at home in a game that there should be some scoring, I think is slightly appealing. But then we get to the quarterbacks. I think both are playable. You said it sounded like you weren't really there for either quarterback.
No, I'm there with both. I was more so saying
Okay.
hypothetically. If you're like,
I got you.
Yeah. I think both are very in play.
Yeah, me too.
Caleb Williams is probably he's either the lowest salary guy that I like feel good with, or second lowest, depending how you feel about Jackson Dart, which I think it's a worse process play by a pretty good margin. But like from a process perspective, Williams playing in a huge game with a huge implied total. They've been throwing the ball decently so far this year. The ground game's been better of late. Last week he was bad, but like he was playing in very, very heavy wins. So I'm not really super concerned about that personally. So I think if you want to say salary quarterback, Williams is one of the better ways to do so.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Lamar, it depends on his health if he's going to run. Mm-hmm. But that's also not even fair because we've seen Lamar at times have that 275-yard, 4 to 5 touchdown kind of game. And it's like, hey, he got there with passing and he still ran for 30, 40 yards, which is like an extra passing touchdowns worth, even if he wasn't full. It's honestly, their backs are against the wall. I mean, Pittsburgh's not uncatchable with that 4-2 record. And, they have a tough test this week, but, Baltimore's not going to know that whenever they play. Right. So they can't if Lamar plays, regardless of if he's limited or what the reports are, I just feel like he's got to go try to make things happen.
Yeah.
And so I want to be there, but it's not enough for me to kind of sit here and say that he's the QB1 because there are enough concerns.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to make sure that I don't, talk myself out of Lamar if we don't get the reports that we're looking for exactly.
I agree with that. And are you in on Williams as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Echo your sentiments there.
Okay. At running back, Derrick Henry's salary is down to $8,000. He's shown upside this year. He also has shown downside, but like he's not a cash game play. Like cash game play, he's way too close to guys with like elite roles. But like for tournaments, I don't mind getting there. I think that he does make sense there, given that he's shown that upside this year. The Bears have let up a lot of explosives to opposing running backs, which is pretty intriguing for Derrick Henry. DeAndre Swift is $6,800. I am not the biggest fan. However, he's been good recently. The offensive line is getting the job done. The Ravens, you could run on them even before all the injuries occurred. Roquan Smith will be back. It's actually a Roquan Smith revenge game this week too. Worth noting there. But I think Swift doesn't have to be fine at 68, given how desperate we are at running back. So I say green light on both these guys too. How are you feeling about the backs?
I mean, green light in the sense of I think if I'm playing these guys, I'm almost just playing them together and hoping that this game is really, really high scoring and these guys each score twice and have 100 scrimmage yards. I don't know if I like either enough to kind of play them as one-offs. Henry, tournaments only for sure. Swift has enough. I think with Kyle Monangai getting more involved, I don't want to get overexposed to DeAndre Swift.
Yep.
So I think I'm playing them. I'm not saying just RB stacks, but they're game stacks only for me.
Yeah. And Swift does have one of those. That? No. And they're higher than game stacks only, but I don't like want to be super heavy on either. I would say that Swift, I also do want to highlight that his red zone share is tough. It's 30%. And the 5 games with Monungai's snap rate being up. So keep tabs on that. If we get Monungai with no Swift, I don't think it'll happen, but like hypothetically, I would love Monungai. He'd be like borderline every roster kind of guy at that point. But I think they're more than game stacks only, but they're not more than tournaments only for me. They're still limited in that sense.
Yeah, and Monungai without Swift, which again you're saying wouldn't really happen, which I agree with you. If it does, this is a situation where we're not guessing really if he
Correct.
will be like who's going to be the guy or what his usage will be. They'll probably just give him as much as they can. So
Yeah, they've shown
because
they
we've
don't
seen it.
value
Yeah.
Roschon as much as him, so that
Yeah.
matters.
Yeah.
If we get no Cole Kmet, Colston Loveland's salary is $4,800. Would you want to spend down to tight end? It's been kind of tough for Loveland so far, though. Even when he's run routes, the targets haven't really been there. Would you consider Loveland at $4,800 as a way to save some salary at tight end?
I don't think so.
I think that there are better options in the low range at tight end. So any other thoughts for you on this game?
What's your favorite way to get here?
Realistically, given my desire to get to the high salary backs, probably via Caleb Williams. So it'd be like a Caleb Williams, DeAndre Swift, Rome Odunze, Zay Flowers stack, I think would be my preferred way to do it.
Yeah, I'd probably be there as well.
Okay. Somehow the highest total on the slate is in Denver, which involves the Denver defense. It's at 50.5. I think that says more about the slate than it does about this game. Right now, the Broncos, a FanDuel Sportsbook, favored by 3.5. Again, total 50.5 in this game. The Cowboys defense stinks, but the offense has been good even when they've played outdoors. So that's intriguing for them. But it's the Broncos defense who has been phenomenal this year. The Broncos offense is not that fun for DFS. So where do you stand on this game from a DFS perspective?
Okay, so the total is 50.5.
Mm-hmm.
This defense rates out for Dallas, rates out as one of the worst overall units, if not the worst. How many Broncos are you clamoring to play?
0.
Like, you couldn't really pick a much better situation. High total, tight spread, at home, the defense of your dreams. This team just doesn't give anybody the ball enough.
Yeah.
It's too spread out. If you look, game by game, they get like 11, 12 guys a target. And as much as I love Cortland Sutton and he can kind of make things happen, there's just not enough here. The running backs, I don't want any sort of a split backfield.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that Dobbins could kind of, he got you at like 24, and that's like the high end of his expectations. That's awesome. And I'm not like against that, but everything process wise just puts me away from this situation for Denver.
Yeah.
That being said, like Bo Nix by himself, maybe.
Sure.
If he just goes and like runs wild, he's athletic. He almost got to 40 last week in a game that just defied logic, but it hasn't been great other than that. Like, he was pretty productive last year from a fantasy standpoint. It's okay. Like, he's running, he gets you like 5 carries and 30 some yards a game on the ground, but the passing hasn't really been there, especially the touchdowns. But it's also one of those, like, he hasn't put it all together in a single game. Like, he's kind of done some stuff here and done some stuff there. So I do think that Nix at a salary of 7,800 has the upside to match. And we haven't even really talked about this exactly, but like, we've got Josh Allen, we've got Jalen Hurts, we've got Lamar Jackson. And these are the guys who can have 35, 40-point outbursts because they're throwing and rushing to an elite degree. Nix can kind of match that if things go his way. So whenever you're saying, this isn't when I'm building this lineup, well, I'm predicting that Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, and Lamar just are okay this week, and Bo Nix does some Bo Nix stuff against the Cowboys. I do think I need to take a longer look at him than I would or would want to.
Yeah.
Honestly, because it's like, well, I can't stack him. It's like, you don't really need to stack this guy. You kind of just play him. It doesn't matter because nobody's probably going to have a huge game. And I think you're probably going to lose long-term trying to stack Bo Nix than the other way around.
I agree with that. I think the Knicks is in play at 78. He's the Bronco I'm most likely to use personally. Given that, like, you're not getting discounts on anybody. J.K. Dobbins' salary is $7,000. That's very high for his role. Cortland Sutton is 77 for a guy with a 21% target share this year. Like, he's an amazing football player. But, like, they just don't give him huge usage, and it leads to a lack of like massive games at 77. And then Troy Franklin's like fine. Marvin Mims is fine, but like he doesn't play a ton of snaps. Evan Ingram, snap rate's not amazing. His salary's kind of high, I think at 53 too. So it's like, it's kind of agree with you where I'd rather just like not stack Knicks if I decide to use him. It would be like if I had like 5 Knicks lineups, would probably have Sutton in 3 of those. But like, I can't with this team. Just the usage is bad and they concern me a lot.
Yeah, I'll try to look this up. Just the max yardage that these guys have had, as a group. So I think I'm just gonna I'll play some Knicks. I never love playing lineups where I don't play pass catchers because you're just like, then you got to guess right. You're not getting a correlation. But I think Knicks again, he's a little easy to write off because of the difficulty stacking, but I think that undersells what is rushing. He's almost like a Josh Allen light, where it's like you don't really have to stack Josh Allen really because he's not going to necessarily throw the ball to anyone in particular very often.
Yeah.
And so I do that more with Josh Allen, but for some reason I'm just way more hesitant with Bo Nix to do that. So I think we're on the same page here with Denver. What are you seeing for Dallas?
Really tough matchup. I know the Giants put up 32 against them last week, but when you look at like, I've got a sheet that shows like different metrics that can lead to upside for opposing players. It is pure red on the Denver defensive line. They are first in adjusted pressure rate. They are allowing the lowest scramble rate for all quarterbacks. So probably not getting a lot of Dak rushing. They have not allowed an explosive run to a quarterback yet this year, despite facing Justin Fields, Jalen Hurts, Jackson Dart, all guys who run. They let up a very low success rate to backs. They do not let up a lot of explosives to backs. And we know that the corners are good. You can beat the corners at times, like Surtain will take some risks. That cornerback 2 spot has been an issue for them at times. So I don't hate George Pickens. I don't like CeeDee Lamb's very pricey. I'd rather get to the running back. So like realistically, probably not going to get there, but like I'm just not seeing a lot with Dallas either, especially now that Javonte Williams' salary, revenge game, but his salary is up to $84. So honestly, I don't like this game that much from a DFS perspective, despite the high total and great matchup for the Denver side.
Yeah, this one though, like it's easy, and I kind of figured that you and I would both come away from this pretty similar, where it's like, Bo Nix makes some sense, but it's hard to stack them. The running backs aren't really great from a process standpoint, and it's a tough matchup on the other side with high salaries. That being said, sometimes you have to take a stand of like, no, like I'm right or I'm wrong, and I wasn't super high on Indy and the Chargers last week, even though it was very similar, indoor game, sure, but dispersed market shares kind of, and frankly, probably better offenses on both sides collectively than
and better market shares.
And I was like, wasn't really there, but it was a good game overall, a lot of points. So maybe I need to make sure I get some exposure here with super chalk elsewhere in the lineup, but I don't know. Do you think like these names in this game will be popular because of the total and spread?
I could see Bo Nix being popular. I could see Sutton being popular. I could see
Sutton
people getting to Dobbins.
Yeah, I think Dobbins he could pop in a lot of optimizers, but I guess Sutton has had better yardage spikes than I would have thought.
He's a good football player. So
this year. Oh yeah. I mean, we love Cortland Sutton on the show. 118, 99, and 87 for him.
Yeah.
So he's actually got 4 of 6 games with 80 plus yards on this team. Troy Franklin got to 89 once, and Marvin Mims got there last week. That's it's still pretty depressed.
Yep. Yeah. Not super enthused there. Deacon on YouTube did also point out the Javonte Williams revenge game. Deacon, did you help set the FanDuel salaries? Because they knew about the revenge game, and I'm sad about that. Because I like Javonte. He's been good this year. His usage has been good. His salary's too high, which is a bummer. But maybe the revenge will carry him to the promised land there. Let's finish up with our third game and talk about the Indianapolis Colts, whose implied total is about as high as you could possibly get this week because it's at 30.5. They are 14.5 point favorites at home against the Titans. Total of 46.5. We know where the ball's going for the most part with Indy. Any concern about spread out usage due to a blowout here, and any bringbacks on the Titans side when you decide to use Colts?
I mean, yeah, I've got some concerns because this happened already, right? Like I know it's a divisional rematch, but
please don't talk about that game.
Why?
It was like week 2, and I bet the Titans. It was week 3.
Week 3.
It was not good.
Yeah,
it was not good.
I mean, it was 20-6 at halftime, and 34-13 going into the final frame. Jonathan Taylor got there, just 17 carries, but 102 yards and 3 touchdowns. The passing volume
3 touchdown games for him this year already.
Yeah, the pass volume was pretty muted, just 25 pass attempts from Daniel Jones. Michael Pittman, 73 yards and a touchdown. I'm not reading this to like copy and paste. It's just like, this is what happened, and now this game's at home, and I feel like the Colts are probably a better team than they were, and the Titans might not be any better than they were in week 3. So we could get 3/4 of these guys, and that's not fun because, oh my gosh.
Jonathan Taylor is plus 130 to score twice in this game.
I got to figure out where that ranks compared to everyone else to score once, but that's absurd. So I do think that there has to be some risk. Is he minus 400 to score just once?
Probably. Sounds about right.
Gosh.
Probably a value.
Just eyeballing it, plus 130 would be like 25th on the whole weekend this week.
Among all touchdown scorers?
Among like all to score once.
That's crazy.
I'm not counting them, but it's like 25th or so. I mean, that's like Jordan Mason, Alvin Kamara, Cortland Sutton, Jalen Warren levels.
I like, because I have this new anytime touchdown model, I like to see okay, what have guys done when I've had them projected in a similar place, so I can kind of figure out the distributions, given that that's like a new model. I have no comps. Like there's nothing. It returns divided by 0. Like this is just, it's unheard of how high the scoring expectation is here.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that kind of plays into like a discussion of the backs, because we have both Jonathan Taylor and Bijan Robinson. Mm-hmm. And frankly, the Falcons could blow out the Dolphins too. How do you feel about Taylor versus Bijan once you consider everything that's kind of involved here?
So Bijan's got the ability, and I mean, Jonathan Taylor has the ability to go over 200 scrimmage yards, but like Bijan does it and can do it with his yardage, his league leading 152 scrimmage yards per game. So the yardage is really enticing there. The case against Jonathan Taylor would just be that it is a blowout and they scored through the air, or Tyler Warren just scored. That's kind of it. So I don't want to say like Jonathan Taylor's got like a 2 touchdown floor, because that's not the case. But there are paths where, like, you know what, they're up big and it just didn't happen to be Jonathan Taylor who scored. Bijan's going to be involved in a lot of ways. Tyler Allgeier's not 100%. I think he'll still play if I had to guess, but his team's at home, Atlanta, which makes a huge difference. I'll talk about that here in just a second. So, like, how can you go wrong? Basically, like, I don't think there's a wrong choice. I'd lean Bijan probably, because I think there's less of a chance that because this Falcons team is dysfunctional enough that they could keep this game close. But also on the same time, like, it's way more likely that Atlanta scores fewer than 20 than Indy. So maybe I should go JT.
I think it's evenish. I like both.
So you just
I agree with you.
Yeah, like, but I at least tried to ration out who's better, but it's like it's a coin flip.
It's like, I do agree with you where Bijan is a slight edge, because that game will be more competitive, and I care about that even at running back. But like Bijan's odds of a 40-point game, I think, are higher than Taylor's, but Taylor's odds like a 25-point game are probably higher, if that makes sense. Yeah. Because that shootout kind of game is how you get the 40 burgers, and we're probably not going to get that here. So I would lean towards Bijan, but I want to make sure I'm pretty even on both on Sunday. And I want to have one of them in most of my lineups. McCaffrey in a bit too, but like, I think both are above McCaffrey for me.
Okay, so if I were to go, just as an example, you said Caleb was probably the lowest salary other than Dart.
Yeah.
You have Caleb with Colston Loveland just because it's a stack.
Okay.
You're kind of punting a bit at tight end. And his salary is 4,800. And you just plug in the Saints against a really, really banged up team.
Yes.
Playing at home. And then you go JT and Bijan. You still need 3 receivers and you need a flex. You got 61.25 left.
I can do that.
And that's like, you probably don't have to go with like Colston Loveland. If you go Jalen Noel there, like,
right.
That's, I mean, I don't know if I would, I'm not saying like this is what you're planning to do, but I don't know if I totally trust the Texans enough to go Noel and Woody Marks, but frankly, why not, I guess. Yeah. So like, it's
you can do
reasonable it's reasonable to play both together. Yeah. If you do that and plug in McCaffrey as your flex, which you would flex JT just in case, because he plays later, it's 51.33. I don't think you can really do that.
Yeah, probably not. But
you'd have to go Dart or like Michael Penix and hope for something there.
I thought about it, but I couldn't talk myself into it.
Into Michael Penix?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'll talk about his splits here in a second at home. But that only gets you up to 53.67.
Yeah.
It's doable. I mean,
it's doable. Yeah. Maybe I'll do it once just to see what happens.
You get Noel, you got 58 for 2 receivers left.
Oh, I thought the Noel was already in there. This is with 3 receiver slots open. Oh, okay.
So now 2 with 58.
Oh, yeah, then we're partying. I could do that. All of that lineup somewhere. Sure.
Okay. All right.
Not saying no. Okay, so we're in on JT. View him similar to Bijan. Like that. What else are you looking at in this game?
Well, yeah, let's stick with the Colts.
Sure.
I can't do Daniel Jones.
Okay.
At 77. He's been like a higher floor guy without a lot of ceiling, and I don't know if he's gonna have to do enough that it matters here. So
I want him in a spot where he'll run, and I don't think that'll happen here.
Yeah, I mean, you can look back at this game. He had 15.8 points against the Titans. Not saying, again, you don't just copy and paste that, but if it's a similar script, he's probably not going to get you 30. And some quarterback on this slate's getting 30. I'd be surprised if not, just based on who we have and the matchups they're in. So that lowers me a bit on the passing game just in general because I'm not going to stack it. That being said, they're getting healthier and Michael Pittman's salary's up. I just don't view him as like a high ceiling guy based on his yardage. He hasn't had more than 80 receiving yards yet this season. He's scored a ton. Sure, he could score twice. Throw another touchdown on this. You know, his game log, he's getting you like 22, which nobody's disappointed with, but that's the sort of perfect scenario of a double touchdown game with like 70 some yards. And that's a pretty narrow path to like, that's not where I want to get. With enough, with the other pass catchers getting healthier, I'm probably just low on everyone else. But we do have Tyler Warren at home, massive implied team total. That's like the baseline checklist for tight ends, and he's like a tight end plus. However, he also kind of just comes out hot, and then they don't use him anymore. Like after that, I don't know what's going on with him.
Yeah,
I don't think it's him. I think it's just the game plan, but.
I view him in a similar bucket as like Taysom Hill, which will sound weird, but like Taysom Hill is most in play, like old school Taysom Hill when they had a huge implied total. Cause like his role specs into the goal line, and Tyler Warren gets like wildcat snaps at near the goal line. So it makes sense. 72. Frankly, I'm not likely to get there this week as much. I've been on him a lot. I'm less likely to just because I need to save at tight end in order to get to running back. So I think his profile is very good. And if I had 72 to spare, I'd be like, hell yeah, man, like sign me up. That's awesome. But I just don't know if I'll have the salary to get there this week.
Yeah, I think saving at tight end is going to be almost a necessity.
As far as the Titans go, Alec Iomanner is someone I'm fine with using. 51. He's one of like the rotational. We always use the Rich Rebar phrase, ancillary jabronis. He might be a rotational jabroni, where we kind of like filter through the value plays and maybe you consider Iomanner at 51. But frankly, like his market shares haven't really improved as the year has gone along, which I kind of thought they would, given he was a rookie. His max receiving yards is 56 so far this year. He is indoors. They're going to throw a ton, potentially no Calvin Ridley once again for this game. So whereas I said I wanted to cap my Noel exposure around like 25-30%, I want to cap Io Manor around like 10. And he's only in JT lineups, because if he scores a touchdown, that boosts JT's expectations. So only in JT lineups, capping it at 10% sounds like a guy you'd probably want to omit based on your process. And I think that's an okay thought.
It's stuff like this. If you get the 4 or 5 point game, you're like, oh man, I like Io Manor to do something he's never done, which is score 14 points. Like, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I'm just disappointed that it hasn't, like, this is a situation where nothing has led to the increase. So you're banking on this being the week that things change, which I don't want to do.
Yep. I think that's totally fair. And I understand that. Okay. You had alluded to the Atlanta Falcons. Let's dive in now to our trends discussion for week number 8. You're going to talk about those Falcons and kind of what you've seen with them this year, because they're at home, pretty big implied total against the Dolphins, whose defense is not good. What did you see when you dug in on Atlanta?
Just a really frustrating team. Never really live up to expectations, but what's interesting, and it's not surprising, a lot of dome teams have this, but to be honest, their indoor-outdoor splits are pretty wild. And I looked at their splits with and without Darnell Mooney, and just happens to basically overlap with being indoors and outdoors. So just keep that in mind sometimes if you're looking for like, oh, this team's good or bad with this player. Like, there's more context to it sometimes. But Bijan's awesome. I want to preface that. Like, none of this, Bijan, you're cool. Like, we're cool. None of this has anything to do with you. But this team, from a passing standpoint, is just really, really frustrating. It's the only word that I can use. So in 2025, Michael Penix has an EPA per dropback of minus 0.09, but his passing success rate's 46.5%, which is pretty solid there. On downfield throws overall, he's been pretty bad, and yet he's throwing deep pretty often on a per game basis. A lot of 10+ yard throws, but this is a dome team. And there's just been some really, really strong indoor-outdoor splits. Not only for, I was going to say his career, which is true, but his career is only a couple of games before the start of this year. But I have, according to my database, in games with roofs, Penix is at 275 passing yards per game, but just 1.2 passing touchdowns per game. Just hasn't really had a lot of like touchdowns. It's easy whenever you can just hand it to Bijan and Tyler Algier. Just keep that in mind. So I don't know if that's going to change as much, but 275 yards is fine to support pass catchers, but in outdoor games, 212 yards per game and 0.7 passing touchdowns. Now, I talked about like the home road stuff this year. At home for him, weeks 1, 4, and 6, which is basically the games where they didn't have Darnell Mooney or he wasn't full. 0.26 EPA per dropback, 54% passing success rate, 0.19 EPA per dropback on downfield throws, which he's had almost a dozen of those per game in this split, and 287 yards per game. His 3 games without Mooney were on the road, minus 0.46 EPA per dropback, success rate under 40%, awful metrics on downfield throws, and under 185 passing yards per game. He's just been a completely different player. So that'd be fine. It was like, okay, just play this team at home. They'll throw it to Drake London a ton because he's a great football player whenever they're at home. But with Darnell Mooney, that's not really the case. And I like Darnell Mooney just fine. But what we see is really kind of eye-opening here. With Darnell Mooney full, Drake London leads the team this year with a 22% target share, which ain't great. Like, that's just not very good. For a wide receiver 1, we just lament teams all the time whenever that's the case. And I'm not going to sugarcoat that because we've also seen this stuff last year with very similar numbers. Kyle Pitts is second on the team at 21% of the targets. Darnell Mooney's at 20% and Bijan's at 19%. Let's just simplify it. Call it, it's like 4 guys getting a 20% target share because it's basically, that's what it is. But with Mooney out or leaving early, Drake London has a 41% target share with 46% of the red zone targets and a 44% target per route rate. It's just really average at 22% with Mooney playing this year. But Bijan and Kyle Pitts are at 20% and 17% in this split without Mooney. So like literally what's happening is that Mooney's out, Bijan and Pitts are the same, but they just give that 20% target share to Drake London. And then when Mooney plays, they just take it back away and give it to Darnell Mooney. And again, I like Darnell Mooney. I think he's a good football player, but Drake London is kind of like a difference maker. And I can't just say, hey, it's going to change Drake London long-term with Mooney. He's going to get a 35% target share, 30% that he deserves. It's just not really the case. Now you put all of this frustration into this matchup at home where Penix historically plays really well in that limited sample still. It's a young career. Against the Dolphins, who are 32nd in adjusted pass defense, according to Number Fire's metrics, also 27th against the rush. They're worse by a wide margin against the pass as well. So this couldn't be a much better situation. The problem is the market shares aren't good. And you can't just efficiency your way to like a 85-yard, 1 touchdown game on 8 targets at 78 for Drake London and like be an impactful DFS play. So I'm kind of low on Drake London, despite the home matchup indoors against the great, a great pass defense to target. Again, all of this is easy with Bijan. We talked about him a good bit already. But 77% snap rate for him, over 150 scrimmage yards per game to lead the league. 43% red zone share, 64% of the routes. Like, he's a phenomenal play. The issue though is just like, what else do you do? We talked about maybe you need Michael Penix. Like maybe he makes some of these lineups work. I don't know what the true ceiling is. I think if you're playing Michael Penix, you say he throws for 3 touchdowns and 300 yards. He gets you that bonus. I don't know what that would work out to, but just imagine it's like 25 points, but none of the other quarterbacks have elite games, and that's fine this week. I don't know if Penix is really getting you 30. He's never going to get you 35, like just frankly. So I don't know. I really wanted to uncover more here, but if anything, it still makes me just really hesitant that they're going to give anybody like productive usage. And frankly, it's like not even good for Kyle Pitts. Like it's fine for Kyle Pitts. Like it's not great, but the salary of 53 is enough. So I don't know. I can't I talk myself in circles with this team because you don't want to just gloss over the matchup and the situation, but what can you like glom onto that's like elite other than Bijan?
Nothing. I agree with you on London because it's like, yeah, he gets like huge value sometimes, but like sometimes it's not efficient either. Like even at home in week 1. So there was no Mooney and they were at home. Same, like, and Mooney is going to play this week. 15 targets for 55 yards. Like, yeah, he can have the monster games, but like, it can be really bad. And like, if they can run all over Miami, I feel like they'll probably just choose to do that instead, unless they want to like actively give Penix some confidence, which I guess I could see the case for that. But Pitts, I think, is fine. He's in play. Salary for him is $5,300. He's had good target shares, like you said, the entire year at home. Big implied total. We love that for tight ends. So I'm willing to get behind him at 53. Another one of those 5,000 range tight ends. And I don't hate the idea of Mooney just because like he's in the best spots where they can be efficient, and they're going to be efficient here. So I don't hate Mooney at 6,000. Don't mind Pitts 53. Love Bijan. I would like to talk myself into Penix, but I'm having a really hard time doing it. So it sounds like we're pretty much in agreement on the Falcons here.
Yeah, it's frustrating. They're kind of similar to the Cardinals for different reasons of like, it's all here, but it doesn't always translate outside of Bijan. So I can't really build around Michael Penix as like a priority. There's a chance that he's just not good to go. Frankly, I wouldn't change too much. I'd still play Bijan a ton. I think you might actually hear I wouldn't do that
to use like Mooney and Pitts if that happened. Just throw that out there.
We'll probably hear about Tyler Algier playing him. 5,900 is the salary he's had in their home games. He's had 10, 16 and 10 carries. He can score, but that's not my style of DFS.
Same. Very much agree there. Okay, let's move now to our second trend, where I'm going to look at the Carolina Panthers defense because they are playing the Buffalo Bills this week. We haven't had the Buffalo Bills on the DFS main slate for, it feels like, a decade. Panthers defense, though, has exceeded my expectations this year, so I want to dig in deeper and see how we can attack them with Buffalo. First, it's worth noting how good the Panthers have been against the run. They rank 4th in early down schedule adjusted EPA per carry allowed. They've also let up just a 32% success rate to opposing backs. That ranks 3rd in the league behind just the Jets and the Browns. Panthers more middle of the pack in explosive run rate allowed, but overall, they're good. They are much weaker against the pass. So your favorite, Brandon, might be a little pass funnel here for Carolina. They rank dead last in pressure rate generated on defense, adjusted for schedule. They've also let up the 6th highest average depth of throw. The receivers who've hurt them most are guys who get downfield work. It's George Pickens, Jalen Waddle, both went for a hundo against them. Stephon Diggs got deep work in that game. He also went for 100. And they've also had let up production to tight ends. Darren Waller and Trey McBride both went for 78 against them. Brenton Strange had 59. Even Elijah Higgins had 45. So he popped him for a big play. That could work well for Buffalo, given Dalton Kincaid, I think, should be back here for this game. Limited practice on Wednesday. Kincaid had just a 16% target share in the games he's played this year, 17% of the deep work, 18% in the red zone, but he's been a lot more productive this year on the volume he's gotten than what he was last year. I can live with him at $5,700 in Josh Allen stacks. Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir both have a 20% target share in games with Kincaid, but Coleman has 31% of the deep targets, and he kind of fits the archetype here, what we want to do against this defense. Salary for Coleman is down to $5,500 for good reason, because he's super, he has no floor. But I will have some interest again this week, only in Josh Allen lineups. So I think the Bills are in a good enough spot where their passing game should get volume, which is enough for me personally. How willing are you to buy into what is a very thin case for a lot of the pass catchers here?
Not really.
Mm-hmm.
I like to proceed with my rosters with a lot of caution.
Mm-hmm.
And so I often play, despite saying I hate playing quarterbacks without stacks, I just do it with Josh Allen a lot. Carolina runs a lot of zone defense, and I was trying to pull this up, but historically, Keon Coleman's better in man coverage because he's just that kind of athlete and can go make things happen in one-on-one situations. But I don't know. It's somewhat similar to the Broncos effectively of what's the true upside and what are you getting out of chasing the any Bills pass catchers. I'm actually more interested potentially in just a Josh Allen, James Cook onslaught stack, which I don't do enough of, and I don't know if this is the right spot for it or the need for it, but I'm a little bit more interested, I think, in James Cook than the pass catchers.
Okay.
Is that stupid?
I wouldn't say stupid. You were talking about the Broncos before and how what's their max yardage? Keon Coleman went for $112 in week 1. And that's probably more than any Broncos pass catcher has had this year, including Cortland Sutton. I think he's had 100 at some point this year, but he can do that. Dalton Kincaid can get yardage just because Josh Allen is more efficient than Bo Nix. I think that's enough to make them viable. Now, do I want to go to Coleman outside of Allen plays? Do I want to go to Kincaid a lot outside of Allen? No. But and I agree with you, I'll use Josh Allen by himself as well. Not as high on Cook personally. I don't know if that's a mistake. I just think this defense has been very good for Carolina. I think that matters. So, and they also do still rotate in with Ty Johnson and Ray Davis. So personally, I'm okay with those guys. They are Josh Allen lineups only, which is a new designation, not just game stacks only. They're stacks only, Josh Allen stacks only. But I'm willing to use them there personally.
Yeah. James Cook or Derrick Henry in a tournament. Who are you?
Derrick Henry.
More due to the matchup or
matchup, but also
don't say roll.
No, roll is bad for both, frankly.
Okay.
But the odds that he goes insane, I feel like Henry's odds are higher because of the setup for him. And also, frankly, the stakes for him, given that they're 1-5.
That's fair. But I think the stakes are moderate for Buffalo as well.
Because the Patriots are pushing them. They're first in the division right now.
So I mean, I feel like we're basically on the same page. I'm a little bit higher on James Cook than you.
I'm a little bit higher on Keon Coleman, which is
Yeah.
understandable. I can't blame you for being lower on him than me, because you should be, frankly.
He's like Jameson, basically, to me, without as much upside.
Whew. That was tough. It's tough.
I mean,
tough for JMO, to be clear, not for Keon Coleman.
That's what I mean. Like,
yeah, I get that. Weather this week is great, frankly, which is nice given the way things were last week. So honestly, there are no games I've even flagged as being like concerns. So we can kind of proceed forward and just kind of use the players we want to play. Speaking of which, let's discuss the players we want to play for this week. We're going to go position by position on FanDuel for week number 8 and break down our top plays for this week. Let's begin things at quarterback, because we haven't really settled on like who is QB1 yet, I don't think. I would say there are several guys who are a contender. Yeah. What are you looking at quarterback for this week?
Yeah, we'll just do the scroll and then we'll say our loves and kind of give the QB1. But I don't know how Josh Allen is not, like, he's a priority, and a priority in the sense of I'm still really bullish on Josh Allen no matter what matchups are. And it's a road game. Like, this should be a close game, like closer than it would seem based on if you just looked at the two teams playing. Like, it's a road game against a team that's a little bit underrated and kind of do some stuff and can run the ball. We also have to talk about the Carolina running backs at some point because their salaries aren't very high. But Josh Allen, to me, still has that, as you see here right at the bottom, right above our nice heat check logo, 41-point game in week 1. If he does that, like if that's something that he just puts on paper, the Michael Penix 24-point game is, you're just in the dust, basically. So to me, Josh Allen, it's going to be, the reason I'm talking about him so much is I feel like I'm not going to get there as much as I want to.
Yeah. Because of the running backs, I assume. Because
of the running backs, and like his salary is so high that it's gonna be like, well, I'll just bump down. I'll keep bumping down.
Yep.
And that feels a little scary.
But of these top 3, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, let's say we get Lamar full by Friday. If we get Lamar full by Friday off the injury report, Lamar or Allen? Because I'm assuming they both be above Hurts in that situation. No, we're not off Hurts, but like I think we'd probably rank them above him.
I'd go Lamar then, number 1.
I would too, I think. I still do like Josh Allen, and I agree with your thoughts on him. But I would put Lamar first. So it'll depend on the injury situation there. Frankly, I'd like to get all 3 of these guys in my player pool. I think that Hurts is worth that too, given the increased passing, given the match is pretty good. I think I like him enough to go there, but I would rank them, if we get full by Friday Lamar, then it'd be Lamar, Allen, Hurts for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
Baker, probably a no given the receiver injuries, right?
Probably a no.
Okay.
Someone that I would look at a lot on the 4 p.m. slate, though, for just 3 games.
What about Dak? He's playing at an MVP level. Very, very, very tough matchup. Hard to stack him, given the salaries on the other players and on the Cowboys. Is there enough there, given how well he's playing, for you to use him despite the matchup?
So this is like the perfect, okay, FanDuel Sportsbook's telling us high score, tight spread. Matchups matter, but they're not
everything.
Like, they're not everything. And if you play Dak and CeeDee Lamb and you guess right on like which Bronco kind of has a big game or something, I mean, it's all right there in front of us to be like, man, Dak in a high total, no one was really there because of all of the variables, outdoors, the matchup, etc. That's like a really interesting tournament pivot if you go pretty chalky elsewhere.
Sure.
But that's all I can say. He's not like, I'm not looking at a blank lineup and starting lineups with Dak unless it's like to go out of my way to build that lineup. So that's like an afterthought. That's the best I can say, though.
He's a consideration. I probably won't get there, but I hear the case, and I think it's a good case for him. Knicks, I'm more likely to use the 70H because they're at home. Super implied total. I disagree with how high the implied total is personally, but like, you know, the books know more than I do. His salary 78. He runs a bit. He runs more when pressed. So I definitely want to bring back if I use Bo Nix. But he works. And then as far as other guys in the 7K range, I do like Caleb Williams. I think I like Nix a bit more, but I do like Williams enough to be high-ish on him. I don't think I'll get to Jackson Dart, but I don't want to like totally toss him out given how good the rushing can be. Those are the guys I'd highlight in the 7K range. What about for you?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Nix over Caleb just has to make sense due to the fact that he's at home and everything there. I'm probably not going to get to Dart.
Yeah,
but I understand the case for it. Sorry, I'm having like a fever dream, and like I knew it, but I was like, Joe Flacco played for the Jets, right? So this is a revenge game for him.
He actually
played there a while.
I was trying to remember if he had a big game against the Bengals, but I think that was actually Mike White. I think that was the Mike White game was against the Bengals, not the Flacco game.
Okay. I don't know what that has to do with anything.
Well, because I was like, oh, he's back against it. Maybe it's a weirder revenge game because he like actually torched his current team with his old team. Maybe that makes it, decreases stuff. I don't know. Just trying to figure out the math on that one.
Yeah. Like I'm not playing him. Although Sauce could be out. Which is
Flacco spent 3 years with the Jets.
I know. That was like, I looked it up. I know. I didn't recall it being that long.
That's bizarre.
Not a lot of starts.
That's way
there.
longer than I thought it was.
I guess 9 starts across those 3 years, looks like. So that's probably why I don't remember it very much.
He did face Cincinnati in week 3 of 2022. 52 attempts, 285 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks. Good job, man.
Okay. You're going to say stuff like that and people are going to think it's like impactful.
Oh, it's impactful. It matters. Everything matters.
So after all of this and not having a clear-cut QB1 at the top, like we like Lamar if he's full. We're okay, like more than okay with Bo Nix and Caleb Williams. All of that being said, keep scrolling down. I made the case already for like the Justin Fields situation of he might be playing for his job. Like if he gets to play, basically. I don't know if that's good or bad for him, but he could rip off like a $120 on the ground and 2 touchdowns. Michael Penix should just have efficiency there. We got to like circle back on all of this and do like a QB roundup because I think we need to figure out who's QB1. What does that mean if you're looking at a blank lineup and you play like you need to play just start with a quarterback who's most likely to be there. And this is also getting dangerously into like, well, there's like 6 or 7 or 8 guys that you could consider, and I can't have that many. So I got to narrow things down. Does anyone below 7K do anything for you?
Penix does something for me, but not enough where I want to use him.
Okay.
Like I get the case. I just don't really want to. I can't use Stroud with no Nico. Right. So that crosses him off. I can't use Justin Fields because the passing won't be there. Can't use Tua. Can't use Tyrod. So no, I don't think I'll use anyone below Caleb Williams at 75 personally.
So then who's your QB1 for this week?
Lamar if he's full by Friday.
And if he's not?
Probably Josh Allen.
I agree, but that's difficult.
Yeah, it's tough. And so it might wind up being Nix or Caleb Williams. Yeah. Like I wouldn't be shocked if in my highest dollar single entry lineup on Sunday, I wouldn't be shocked if Caleb Williams is in there personally.
I wouldn't either. Does that mean like a jamming in Rome?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah. Because we built the Loveland lineups, but that's a little bit different.
It is, yeah. But it sounds like we're on the same page there.
It's a lot of likes and considerations.
Yep.
Lamar, if he's full, would be number 1. If not, it's going to be Allen if that's not doable. Williams or Knicks. I should probably lean Knicks because he's at home and has like that matchup and can run. So I think we're on the complete same page, but when chips are down, I might just plug in Bo Nix over Caleb Williams instead.
It's fair. I like Williams passing upside more, and he will run too. So that's kind of the part of it for me. But like Knicks is the better process play. I agree with that. Okay. Running back. Are we settled on Bijan with a slight edge over Taylor, but both are really good?
Yeah, he's the 1A for me, but I'm not going to argue anyone. I'm going to try to build lineups where I have 200 extra and just swap out Bijan for JT.
Considering salary, is McCaffrey in the same tier as them? He is 91 versus Bijan at 10K and JT at 10.2.
Yeah, his role couldn't be much better. 38.6 adjusted opportunities per game, which is carries plus double your targets. Second in yards per game at 140. Best red zone role. It's more about the offensive expectations than anything for McCaffrey. But I don't know how you look at this. Like, he's at 38.6 adjusted opportunities, and nobody else is above 30. Bijan's second at 29.2. Actually, JT's at 26. He's third if you don't count Bucky Irving. Come back soon, Bucky. But
Cam Scadden
McCaffrey
in his games as lead back, so he does get up there too.
Yeah. But McCaffrey, if I can't, and frankly, what I should probably try to do is just do like Bijan and McCaffrey, or JT and McCaffrey, give myself some flexibility. But they're the top three by a mile to me.
Like, he's like a half tier behind, even considering his salary, just because like they have such elite spots and he doesn't on the road against Texans. But like half tier is as far as I can go. His usage makes him need to be in that discussion. Yeah. I don't like Javonte at the salary. Don't like James Cook at the salary. Don't like Saquon at the salary. So the next guy I'm like okay with using is Derrick Henry at 8K. How do you feel about the rest of the 8,000 range at running back?
We're similar, but I just throw James Cook into the Derrick Henry. Like, oh man, they had 2 touchdowns and long rushes, and that can happen because these are those guys. So I'm with you, but I would just put James Cook in the Henry tier.
Okay. I might have some FOMO Saquon lineups, but that is more of a do as I say, not as I do. That's not good process, but I might do it if I'm being honest. Devon Achane 79 is in a good spot, I think. No Divine Diablo for the Falcons. And after he got hurt in that game last week, we saw like George Kittle just turn into like Superman and like blocking out the sun for Christian McCaffrey in that game. We could see a similar kind of setup here for the Dolphins. Achane is typically not the highest upside guy, but he does have a $120 for as far as yards scrimmage twice this year. Salary's on 79. I think that he would be interesting in a Bijan lineup. It would mean I couldn't get to McCaffrey or JT most likely, but like I'm okay with Achane. What are your thoughts on him?
I'm okay with him, but the red zone role is not very good.
It is not,
as you mentioned, 29%. Like it's that narrows the path for that massive game, and you're not getting any real salary reprieve for Achane. He's almost kind of salaried as if his red zone role is better.
Sure, that makes sense. I understand that. I think that the game overall is enough to get me at least there a bit. Quinshon Judkins 78. We've got Brees 74, Rachaad White 73, Scadaboo, and J.K. Dobbins. What's your read on the rest of the 7K range?
Yeah, I mean, great usage for Judkins last week against Miami with 3 touchdowns, but 25 carries for 84 yards, not exactly like the breakaway production that you're looking for.
That was also in a great matchup, and the Patriots have not let up any explosives to running backs, hardly at all.
Yeah, so I think I'm just going to be out on Judkins. If it burns me, it burns me, but I'm not sure that this is the matchup where that's going to happen.
I agree. So we got Brees Hall 74 on down. I like Brees. In on Scadaboo as a tournament play against the Eagles. He did well against them when Jalen Carter was out, and Jalen Carter's going to play. So the matchup is not good there, but like his usage is pretty sick, frankly. And Rachaad White works, but he's not like someone I'm salivating over. How are you feeling about these 3 guys?
Again, I hate to say it, but I agree with you. I think the building blocks there, to steal your term, are there for Rachaad White based on his snap rate and red zone role. It's a matter of the huge yardage upside, but under 75 is where I kind of I give guys a little bit of leeway.
Yeah.
for having imperfect roles because nobody's going to be perfect down here. And I'd rather have, good red zone role and receiving role here than nothing. So White's there. I don't know if I'm playing too many Saints on the other side of things to bring it back with. So that's a little bit of a downgrade. Scattaboo, he's fine, but we're starting to get into the territory of get a sprinkle of Breece Hall, some Rashad White, some scat. Like that, you just can't do that really. If you're building 150 lineups, sure, but if you're building 10, I caution against like just rotating in all these pieces because the odds that you get that one great lineup are reduced when you do that. So I don't know if any of these three are actually going to be in like my main core to be 50% rostered guys, 40% really. So it's fine. Nobody stands out though.
I'd be below at number 2 personally. I would rank Breece slightly above Scattaboo, but I will use both those guys. I'm going to rank White behind them. 6K range, I had 2 guys who I wrote down, those being DeAndre Swift 68 and Woody Marks at 61. With Swift, the appeal is that they've kind of figured out the run game, and the Ravens have struggled there all year. Do have some concerns about Monungai, and that's weighing on me. And for Woody Marks, they're at home. They are now very slight favorite, basically a toss-up in that game, but the Niners don't have Fred Warner, which eventually should hurt them defensively. Didn't really hurt them too much against Atlanta. Also lost Bryce Huff here, so that should help the Texans' like overall infrastructure be good. And Marks can get work as both a rusher and a receiver. So for me in the 6K range, it comes down to Swift and Marks as things stand. What about for you down here?
Yeah, I'm okay with them as well. Still think I want to like avoid getting overexposed to someone like Woody Marks, whose role's on the uptick, but don't know if he's really in the situation where he's going to flamethrower me for not getting there. Speaking of not flamethrowering me for not getting there, Chase Brown did have 100 yards from scrimmage last week, but I'm not really interested in that. So things kind of fall off. Alvin Kamara without Kendry Miller should, in theory, get more work, but I don't know if it's going to matter a ton. Are we overlooking Kamara? Yeah, like are we overlooking
Taysom's there?
him?
Tough matchup. Like,
yeah,
even with like no Kendry Miller, like it's so hard to give a good touchdown projection to Kamara just because like Taysom's there. Let me see here. Yeah, I got him at plus 210 to score, so it's like. It's gonna be better for like Marks and guys like that, I think. Let me check actually. Yeah, Marks at plus 180, so a little bit better.
Where are you with the Carolina backs?
Don't want to touch them. I know it's a good matchup. Salaries? Yeah, it's lower salaries, but like it's like
you're handcuffing yourself to play these guys.
What's that?
Like you're handcuffing yourself if you play these guys because there's only so much that they can do.
Right. And
if they both finish the game.
In my model, they're 9-point dogs as running backs who are in a timeshare with a quarterback I don't like. So yeah, that's what it comes down to for me. Okay.
So I like Marks.
Yeah.
Good.
Anyone at 6K or lower for you?
I will just point out that Ramondre Stevenson's snap rate's been above 70% in 2 straight games. He's got a great red zone role. It's clear that they trust him more than anybody else in this backfield. I know on paper is a tough defense, and you see that like red number 1 for him, but this defense isn't as good on the road, and I think he could do worse than Ramondre. I'm probably not going to get there. He's probably going to be in a lot of optimizers, but I don't think it's bad necessarily because he's not like a 50% snap rate guy. It's been a little bit better than that. He's got the chance for touchdowns, but I think there's nothing else unless we get no DeAndre Swift, which is not probably going to happen. So
yeah,
this is a very weak week for running back value.
At the moment, Marks is the lowest I'm willing to go. That's as far as I can go at running back. And frankly, he might be the only guy used below Swift. So we might be hurting a bit. And again, need someone to take a vacation to Cancun this week.
So you want to talk about your Josh Allens and your Lamar Jacksons.
I know that's what I'm saying is it's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is why I said, like, if I have one single entry lineup on Sunday, it might be Caleb Williams in that slot for that reason.
So we got to talk receivers.
Receiver, Jamar Chase's salary is 96. His usage is freaking amazing. He had it looked like a quarterback line in that game last week. He had 23 targets in that one, 161 yards and a touchdown. He had 12 targets the other game with Joe Flacco. Realistically, though, I don't know if I can get there because, no Sauce Gardner this week, probably for the Jets. But would I rather go with Jamar Chase tied to Joe Flacco, or would I rather go with more Christian McCaffrey, more Bijan Robinson, more Jonathan Taylor? I'd rather have the backs personally. And it is neither or proposition for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, you could do, I guess by definitions, the either or. So you could play one of those running backs with Jamar, but that's one fewer lineup where you're getting two of the studs. And to me, we talked about the running backs, top to bottom, that mid-range is fine, but I feel similar to how I felt last week, where this is we've kind of returned to getting some guys with just dominant running back workloads, and then everyone else is in a bit of a timeshare or in a bad offense or just not productive. And whenever you get those opportunities, that matters. So I'm with you with Chase. I'd put CeeDee Lamb in a similar bucket. Who are you more likely to play, Jamar Chase or CeeDee Lamb?
I'm more likely to have a Dak lineup, so thus Lamb for me.
I think I agree with that, but to be honest, Jamar could still probably get 35 if there's no Sauce. So maybe I should go Jamar for if I'm just degaffing and going pure tournaments, but then things fall off at least a little bit with salary down to 8,400 with AJ Brown. So talk to me about this range. What are you seeing?
Not a lot, frankly. AJ Brown works in Hurts lineups, obviously. But we know that his paths there are pretty obvious. Nico not going to play. Evans not going to play. Not into Drake London. Sutton I'll use at times with Knicks, but not beyond that. I don't think Wilson plays. So I just I think the first receiver I actively want to use is Emeka Egbuka at 75. He's the first one where I'm
agree.
Yep, cool. I'm good at that. Everyone else is okay. Sutton's fine. London, fine. But the cost is pretty high for those guys. So Egbuka for me is the first guy. I'm I want to use him.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Ibuka's got the target shares. He's a good football player. He's indoors. I like that. Coming off of a 12 target, 4 catch game, he's still going to be popular. People are still going to get there, but not as much as if he would have had a good game last week.
Correct. And that's pretty intriguing to me. So I like Egbuka, but I also just like the rest of this range. Got Rome Odunze 73, George Pickens 72. I mentioned the cornerback 2 slot's been a bit leakier for the Broncos than other spots have. And he's also just a lot lower salary than Lamb is. Flowers 71. Honestly, T. Higgins 7,000. Similar thought process to Devontae Smith, where it's I can save quite a bit and still get exposure to a beat up secondary. I think if I had to rank them, I'm going Egbuka 1. If I get a full Lamar, I'm going Zay 2, followed by Odunze. If Lamar's questionable coming in, I'd go Odunze 2, Zay 3. But I'm okay with any of these guys personally. How are you in the low 7,000 range?
Are we going T and up?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all playable. I'd probably rank them similar to you.
Okay.
If not the same.
I
think T's interesting for sure. 38% air yard share, 21% of the targets with Flacco, but a lot of money, the same number of money targets. So whenever you're inside the 10 or in the end zone when you're actually targeted, not the same target per route rate that Chase is getting, but that's just kind of the case.
It's not possible to get that high.
He could also get a little bit of a, reward for, sliding down. So
yeah. Heady move.
We'll see.
Yep.
But yeah, I think this is a great range.
Yep. 8 and 10 targets in 2 games with Flacco, which is pretty good. So like that range, willing to be there. Down below them in the 6K range. Again, I don't hate this range either, which does help me. It helps quell the concerns a bit about the missing out on the top end guys. Because Jalen Waddle 69, 22% target share without Tyreek, but a 53% deep target share. And now there's no Darren Waller as well. The Falcons have some good corners, guys like AJ Terrell, but they're indoors there. Devontae Smith, even if AJ Brown plays, I don't really care. 25% target share, 33% deep target share, 25% in the red zone. That's in the games with Dallas Goedert, including week 1. So that's fun. Olave, we're always on 31% target share. He's at 31% in all the 3 key target shares I look at. Overall, deep and in the red zone. I like all these guys again. If I had to rank it, probably going Devontae 1, Waddle 2, Olave 3. How do you feel about this range overall?
Again, similar to you, Waddle was interesting. You mentioned the 22% target share in those full games without Tyreek Hill, but 30% of the money targets, 28% target per route rate, 2.93 yards per route run. And that includes a game that was just ugly last week where he had a 13% target share. You remove Darren Waller and his high leverage targets. I think that's a really nice standout there, but I think Devontae Smith has shown it more and more recently as well, to where I'd probably go him. Olave is honestly really frustrating because he's been better in recent weeks. Hasn't had 100 yards yet, but 98 and 2 straight. And he was due for a lot of touchdowns, and they came in waves. The salary is still reasonable for what the role is. So maybe I should be a little bit higher on Olave due to the fact that I want to get some exposure to, I'll have a Buka. So maybe I just bump up. I'm more likely to stack the opposite side of Olave's game compared to Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle. So maybe that matters.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that case for sure. Getting down into the low 6K range, not quite as appealing here, but I do have some appeal. I think that Wanda Robinson 65, what?
It's just funny.
Why?
It's funny because historically we've been down on Wandale, and
historically he's had Drew Lock or Tommy DeVito as his quarterback, and now he's got a dog at quarterback. Yeah. And also there's no Malik Neighbors, which does help because in the games without Neighbors, Wandale Robinson is a 27% overall target share, but also 27% deep in the games without Neighbors. $6,500, game stacks with Devontae Smith. That does work. I like Juwan Jennings 61 as well. Looked healthier last week. Thought he played pretty well in that game. He had 7 targets in that game where they didn't throw a whole lot, so the target share for him was very good. And then Mooney, he works at times, but I think for me it's more about Jennings and about Wandale. Any guys you want to highlight here in the 65 through 6,000 range?
Nope, I agree with you. So maybe I'll just reverse what I just said. Does Devontae and Wandale just make for a mid-level stack that makes sense, and you kind of leverage that in a week where there's not a lot of value?
I think so.
Okay. I need to do that more. That's that tier that sounds great in theory, but when I'm building lineups, I don't quite get there.
Yeah.
On Sunday morning.
Yep. If that's me, the low 7K range on FanDuel at receiver, I always just want to be lower on that than I want to be.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. Let's go to the 5,000 range of wide receiver. I have notes on 4-5 guys. What about you?
At the 5,000 range?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Who are they for you?
My list is Rashid Shaheed at 57, Tez Johnson at 57.
Yep.
I have notes on Keon Coleman at 55. I don't blame you if you don't want to go there. That's totally understandable. Okay. I like him. I will use Jaden Higgins at 53 just because, again, I think he's going to play a lot of snaps, and I don't want to say he can't earn targets because he hasn't yet. I think he could because he's a good football player. And then the last one for me was Alec Iomanner at 51. Again, 10% is where I want to cap it, just tied to JT. Who were the 5 for you?
I'm the same aside from Iomanner didn't make it. Xavier Legette did.
Okay.
But he's a 10% guy for me anyway.
Yeah.
It's just the idea of kind of some underneath targets at a high volume and potentially added pass volume if they're trailing. So I don't mind that. But I think the real standout here, well, actually, we can stick here, but I think the biggest name below 6K is not someone that we're talking about here. So
correct. I'd rank them Shaheed 1 because I just love the juice that he brings. It's a good matchup for him against Tampa Bay. So I like that. He's a big discount from Olave too. I'd probably go Tez 2. Is that outrageous?
No, he's got the best path to being attached to a good offensive showing.
True. Okay. So I think I'd
Out
rank
of the
them
rest
highest.
of them.
Yeah. But the guy you were alluding to is Jalen Noel. His salary is $4,500. So we've talked about how tough it is to find value on this slate, and we know the concerns we have there. Let's assume we don't get any surprise value. What would you want to cap your exposure at on Noel this week?
Probably 30%, but that's a heavy 30% where he could be in like my main lineup even.
I agree. Same. He probably will be in my main lineup, frankly.
I think he has to be almost unless things change a lot.
Yep.
So getting a bad performance, getting 9, like let's just say it's copy paste, he gets 9.7 points again. That won't burn you given the salary.
Right.
And I say it like I know it might sound contradictory because I'm like, well, if you get a quarterback who gets you 21, you can't make it up. The salary gap of 4,500 to the rest, to me, is not the same conversation. So you get access to the mistake erasers. So like, let's say you play McCaffrey and Bijan together, and McCaffrey just has like 130 yards and doesn't score, and it's fine. Like Bijan goes for 40. It's because you had Jalen Noel there. So to me, and I wish I could talk myself into this more at tight end because it's a very similar logic, but I can't. Those guys are not good football players in line for role increases with a quarterback who I guess people might not like anymore, but is still a pretty good quarterback. So
agreed.
I think Jalen Noel is like a 30% cap guy, but it's a heavy 30%.
Yeah.
Where he's in a lot of my like core lineups.
Like 30% exposure, but if you look at like financial exposure, it'll probably be 50% plus.
Yeah.
Like a total of dollars, it'll be higher than 30.
Because it's so easy just to keep plugging him in lineup after lineup. And you're like, well, I got 67% Jalen Noel, and he's can't do that.
It's scary. Yeah. So my loves at receiver are Jalen Noel. I was deciding if I want to put Shaheed as a love. I don't think I do. But I'll put Devontae Smith as a love.
Mm-hmm.
I think Juwan Jennings is like a fringe love. I like Zay a lot and Igbuka. Adunze is also in that consideration for me. What about for you?
I should probably put Olave there, but
okay.
I have Igbuka, Devontae. I'll say Olave and I'll say Noel with the caveats that we laid out of like you can play him with some confidence, but just it's not a running back value where you can play him in all your lineups. It's pretty different.
Agreed. Okay. Tight end. I think there are a lot of lower salary guys. So love my guy, Tyler Warren. This probably is not the week for me there. Jake Ferguson's good football player, gets a lot of volume. Not going to get there this week. First tight end I want to use is Kittle at 61. Do you have any different opinions on the upper salary guys?
No, I'm with you. And Kittle, in week 1, I know he exited early, but he was, I know just
like the first drive, I think he had like 4 targets and a touchdown.
So he had a 36% target per route rate, 11 routes for him, 20 snaps. So again, you're doing like that extrapolation. And I know I could just as easily be told that, well, he got blanked, last week. But even with that, he's at 2.27 yards per route run. I know it's a very small sample. Or sorry, that's from week 1. So if you like put like, look, he's still going to be good. I would go so far as to say Kittle's a priority at tight end.
I think so. I think that makes sense. But I also don't mind saving a bit because there are some guys who are pretty solid too. Dallas Goedert, 58. Dalton Kincaid, 57. K-Dot 55. Kyle Pitts, 53. Dalton Schultz, 51. Those are all guys I'm willing to use. I think that Kittle is like a better play, and I'd like to get there. But if I had to dip down a bit to save some salary, I am okay with that as well. What's your read in the 5K range? Which guys are on your list there?
It's the same list for me, but I have Mark Andrews there with the assumption that I'm going to play Lamar. So I understand it if you're not there. I get it. But at home, again, you're expecting the production.
Yeah.
So
how are you ranking the 5K tight ends? Because I'm having a hard time with that personally.
I would probably go. I should go Goddard. So I go Goddard.
Okay.
Otten. Probably, I guess, in order of salary, which is a little bit of a cop out, but I think it's accounting for salary still. Goddard, Otten, Pitts, and then Schultz.
I might go Schultz a bit higher because there's just a lot of targets open there.
Yeah, I feel less likely that he does anything with them, though.
It's very fair. 98 yards on Monday, hasn't scored a touchdown yet. I know you like to look for touchdown regression candidates, so
yeah,
he does check some boxes at least at 51.
Yeah.
Were there any players in the 4K range? I guess Colson Loveland potentially in some Caleb Williams lineups.
I had Loveland potentially, and I had Mason Taylor if we get to Rod, which doesn't sound super likely, but nobody else really popped.
Yeah.
For me, so
I would say my loves at tight end are going to be Kittle for sure, probably Goddard, and then probably looking at Schultz by a hair over Pitts, but they're kind of in the same bucket for me.
Yeah, I think we're again very similar.
Yeah,
which is fine. Okay. It's enough options where you can build lineups.
Yep, I agree with that. Okay, defense. You mentioned the Saints before as being the team you plugged in to get the JT plus Bijan lineup. I'm fine with that.
It's just because they're minimum salary playing a really banged up team.
Yeah, the Buccaneers have a lot of injuries, and that matters. So it's not like an anti-Buccaneers thing. It's more so just at some point they're gonna break, and they didn't play very well. Now on a short week, going on the road for the second straight game, it's enough downsides for Tampa for me to be okay with the Saints. But I do think there are some other options we can turn to. The problem is that those other options are not as low salary, because the next team that I actually feel okay with is the Ravens at 37, facing the Bears, who I like, and I think the Bears are solid. But also, the Ravens are 6.5-point favorites. They're getting a lot of dudes back, and Roquan Smith, Kyle Hamilton's healthy. They're getting a lot of guys back, so I can be cool with the Ravens. I probably should have mentioned the Jets actually at 34 against Flacco.
I have the Jets listed, yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right. I think they deserve to be on that list. So to me, it's Saints, Jets, Ravens, and then we get into the range where things pick up, because in the 4,000 range, I think the Niners taking on that bad Houston offensive line, they could work. They don't generate a lot of pass rush, which is why I don't want to go there necessarily, but Falcons are pretty sick. That defense has played lights out this year at home, and it's the Dolphins offensive line on the road. What more could you ask for? And then finally, I think that's the only one I had. Was it just those two? Oh, I wrote down the Texans against Mac just because the defense is so fierce. So to me, Texans, Falcons, and Niners, all considerations. Really like the Falcons. So if I get 41, I'm going to plug them in. I think is how I do that.
Yeah, you're a little higher on Baltimore and the Niners, but that's fine. Yeah. My preference, I think, is just Atlanta.
Okay. Any other notes for you on defense?
Not on defense, but Dalton Schultz, 98 yards last week, was his second highest. He did have 130 back in 2023. So
is that when he was still with Dallas, or was that with Houston at that point?
That was with Houston.
Okay, so his first
against Tampa Bay.
Okay.
In a 39-37 game.
That was the Stroud coming out game. I was watching that in an airport. Remember that vividly. Good times. Okay, we have talked through the entire slate. It is just as difficult now as it was when we started, I think. So I feel like we talked through it. I kind of wound up where I thought I was going to. It's I got to scrounge it for value, and that kind of scares me a bit. Any final thoughts for you on this slate?
Probably more likely to bump down at quarterback than running back.
Mm-hmm.
As in going from the Allen Hurts Jackson tier to Nixon and Caleb, because going down from JT, Bijan, and McCaffrey to James Cook, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry feels worse.
Yeah, I get that for sure.
What I'm probably ultimately learned the most is maybe that 6K at receiver. There's enough names that maybe that does a lot of heavy lifting for me, though.
And I gotta accept some potential for zeros at a receiver, maybe via guys like Jalen Noel and stuff like that, because I want to get to those backs for sure. Want to make sure I do so cautiously. but I have to be okay with some downside there. That is all that we have for today on the Heat Check. As mentioned, all of our covering the spread shows also here on the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page. Check out Brandon and I's breakdown of the Week 8 NFL. I said eyes and it really bothered me, and so I got thrown off. Brandon's and my breakdown. Yes, English major. Yes. Brandon's and my breakdown.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, cool. We are paid to edit words. Anyway, you can find our breakdown, that's easier, of the Week 8 betting slate on the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page. Also, College Football Week 9 player props going up there tomorrow. Subscribe to the YouTube page, leave us a thumbs up, and turn on notifications, but also check out the FanDuel Research Podcast feed wherever you get your podcasts. Brandon, people have questions for you on social media. Where can they find you there?
I am on X at Gdula13, GDULA13, and on Blue Sky at Gdula.
I am on X and Blue Sky at JimSannes, on Threads at Jim.Sannes, and you can find FanDuel Research on X at FanDuel Research. Big thank you to our YouTube producer, Justin Lane, for his work in the video side of things. Thank you, Justin, as always, and thank you to everyone for tuning in. Good luck to you with your Week 8 NFL DFS lineups. We'll talk to you once again next week. This has been The Heat Check, a FanDuel Research podcast.